really excited. Very excited to be here with you guys today. My name is Sam Mallikarjunan. I'm from HubSpot in Boston, principal marketing strategist there. As you mentioned, I am also advanced marketing instructor at the Harvard Division of Continuing Education. Shameless plug, I'm also the author of the book, How to Sell Better Than Amazon. Thanks to our publisher, that is ironically available for purchase on Amazon. I'm really excited to talk to you guys today. And the reason's not just Istanbul is a beautiful city. It's not, the fact that you're all really smart people, you are. I'm excited to talk to you today because this moment right now is history. Sometimes I'm a little disappointed that I wasn't old enough in the 60s and the 70s to take advantage of the computer revolution, the first computer revolution. I think like if I'd have been alive then, I could have had a ton of fun and made a ton of money. And then, even further back, I look at the Industrial Revolution. I think if I'd have been alive then, I could have had a ton of fun and made a ton of money. But people 20, 30, 40 years from now are going to look back and say, if I was alive in 2016, I could have had a ton of fun and a ton of money. We're fundamentally redefining the way that money works in the firm. We're changing the way that people work and fundamentally redefining the way that people live. It's an incredibly exciting time to just be a professional, to be in this industry. Now, may you live in interesting times is both a blessing and a curse. A group that lived in interesting times was the dinosaurs. I'm sure it was a very interesting experience as the asteroid obliterated them from existence and they saw all these small, agile little marsupials and other creatures that sort of survived this catastrophe while they died out. We're in a similar period right now. We're in a mass extinction of businesses. We tend to think of this characteristic of being a Fortune 500 company in the United States or Fortune 1000 company. We think of this as a defining characteristic. You're a Fortune 500 CEO or a Fortune 500 firm. But 70% of the companies on the Fortune 1000 are new within the last 10 years. In fact, Yale, not the good school, Yale. A professor at Yale projected that by 2020, 3/4 of the company on the Fortune 500 are companies that we haven't heard of yet. The average life expectancy of a Fortune 500 company used to be 75 years. Now it's 15 years. And it's projected to be 5 years if things continue going the way they are now. You can be one of those companies. Everybody here sitting in the room, 3/4 of that list is unspoken for. You can be one of those companies in 2020 on the US Fortune 500. Now, of course, extinction is traumatic for the species that are going by the wayside, but it brings opportunities for new species to flourish. I mean, it would be a little hard for us to have this conference here if we had to battle velociraptors in the street, or if, in addition to Istanbul's traffic, we also had to deal with T-Rex. The absence of those species have given us the opportunity to flourish. The death of the incumbent firms, these very large companies, are giving you the opportunity to flourish. So you've seen this chart probably before. This is the bell curve that shows how technologies are adopted over time. You've got, your innovators, your early adopters, and, eventually more people start using it. The area under the curve is the number of people using it. It's not this nice smooth curve anymore. Now it's this very fast, very sharp curve where companies or firms are getting massive adoption extremely quickly. Pokemon Go, for example, took just 19 days to reach 50 million users. It's the fastest time in history anything got to 50 million, 19 days. Now, what I want to talk to you guys about today, you're going to hear a lot of inspiration about startups, about VCs, how to get yourself through your seed round and your Series A round and stuff like that. I want to teach you how we go through this life cycle, how we look at this at HubSpot, teaching you our strategy to go from startup to scale up. So this is our CEO, Brian Halligan. I love this picture of him because he just looks so happy. We think of this in terms of an S-curve, the 4 phases of life that a company goes through. First, you have to get product market fit, right? You have to build something that people are going to use and that you can extract money from over time. Then you have to get the math to work. You can say, for every dollar I put into building my organization, can I continue to get $3 out? Then you have to figure if you can get the math to scale. If $1 million got you 100,000 customers this month or this year, can $10 million get you 1 million customers next year? That's getting the math to scale. And then getting saturated And this is a terrifying time for a company where that hockey stick graph that we all like to look at, that all of our VC firms are looking for, that eventually turns into the tail end of an S-curve where we ourselves face the potential for disruption. Just 5 years is the amount of time that we have to work with. So I'm going to walk you through this process, how we look at it at HubSpot. First, obviously, you're a startup, right? You've got to get to product market fit. One of my first things that I tell everybody to do, before you start thinking about your product, before you start thinking about the solution, really make sure that you've defined the problem. We call it the user assumption. In software engineering, a lot of times they call it the user story. As an X, I want a Y so that I can Z. Now, this is something we use in software to help us really define and determine how we want to build this feature, but it's a question that you should make sure you can answer. If you're talking to somebody and they ask you what your startup does, I give this thing to this person for this reason, so that they can do this. The framework is also referred to as jobs to be done. It's not what the thing is, it's what's it doing. Quote that I love, nobody wants a 9 3/4 inch drill bit, right? I've been all over the world. I have yet to meet a drill bit collector. They want a 9 3/4 inch hole. Henry Ford is famous for his quote, if I had asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. By really defining what's the problem that I'm trying to solve, what's the job to be done, what's the user story, then we start building strategy. Now we start building solutions and products around it. I don't know what movie this GIF is from, but I was looking online and it just seemed the only thing that's appropriate. You're talking to these customers, you've got this segment of the market, what do you want from me? Figure that out. Frankly, the first thing I like to do is fake it. Fake it before you make it, before you build it, before you construct it or write a single line of code. One way that I like to do that is just build an animated explainer video. If you can't describe what you're doing to an animator so that they can knock up a 30-second or a 90-second video, you probably need to think a little harder. Make sure that you can explain it to them and then see how people react to the video. Second, you can create a landing page. I do this a lot of times for a startup or something like that. I'll just create a simple landing page. I'll define the target market either on Google Ads or Facebook Ads, drive traffic to it, see if I can get people to sign up for the thing. If no one signs up for the thing, I'm not going to build the thing. And once it's ready, now I have a list of people that I can sell to. At Labs, we do this a lot of times. We'll just put a button into the feature. So that's if nothing exists. If something already exists, and you want to decide if you want to add a product, we'll put a button into the feature or into the software. No one clicks the button for the thing, we're not going to build the thing. If they do click the button for the thing, say, thank you, this is coming soon, we'll let you know when it's live. I've never had a single person get upset about that. Fourth is the Wizard of Oz method. This movie is 100 years old, so I don't mind spoiling it for you. But at the end of this movie, it turns out that this mystical, magical, and powerful being is actually just a guy standing behind a curtain pulling some levers. There's no software. There's no magic. But if I was a VC, I would invest in this guy in an instant. He got an entire city to turn over control to him without writing a single line of code or actually inventing and building anything, all just by demonstrating to them, pretending that he had this value. The last 5-10 years have disillusioned me from the idea that you can't build it. I know you can build it. I'm not really concerned that whatever your idea is, that it's not possible. What I'm worried about is, do people want it? Is this actually solving a real problem? The fifth way that you can fake it, crowdfunding campaign. Eric Ries, author, obviously famous author of The Lean Startup. He came to us at inbound.org and he was crowdfunding his book, his new book, The Leader's Guide. Before he wrote it, he crowdfunded it. He wanted to make sure that there was demand for this. And he actually raised from almost 10,000 people more than $500,000, which is almost 10 times the average book advance in the United States, before he wrote it, before he launched it. He got validation from the market that this is what they wanted. All right, so you've got an idea, you've got a concept, now you iterate. Particularly with engineering-heavy folks, really smart folks, I've had the privilege to manage really smart people in my life. You all are a pain to manage, really annoying. Because you want to build this amazing, incredible thing, right? You've got this vision in your head of the faster horse, and you want to build that. In reality, this is a chart that I love from a guy named Henrik. You don't build a wheel and then build a chassis and then build a chassis that finally has a container and then has a car. You build a skateboard. Okay, I've got this sort of thing that can get me where I'm going. Then you've got this skateboard where I can kind of sort of control. Then you've got one that goes faster, takes advantage of mechanical advantage. So I've got this bicycle. Then it goes way faster. And now suddenly at the end, I've got a product that maybe it's not what I had in mind, but it's what the customer wanted based on the feedback that I collected over time. I talked about Pokemon Go. It's tempting to look at this as the chart that tells you whether or not you have product market fit. This is the total daily active users for Pokemon Go. And you see this big spike, and then it starts to go down, and everybody who has to sell ads on their website starts writing articles about how Pokemon Go is dying, yada, yada, yada. That's how they work, right? This is the wrong way to look at it. The right way to look at it is what we call cohort retention. So the white line is a company where you get a bunch of customers or users, and then eventually you have none of them left. You know, if I have all of you sign up for my piece of software here this month, and then 6 months from now, none of you are using it anymore, I have 100% churn, right? The company that maybe has only 40% of those people, but they keep using it forever. The phrase is asymptotic to the x-axis, if you guys have taken Alex Schultz's growth class. This is what we look for when we're saying something has product market fit. Why is this important? Well, you can outgrow churn for a while. If you're good enough at sales, you're good enough at marketing, maybe you've just got like an interesting thing people like to play with, you can fool yourself into thinking you're really onto something for a really long time. But eventually, that flattens out, and you can't acquire customers faster than you're losing them. And then your company collapses. You don't deliver out for yourself, you don't have the impact on the world you want. It continues to stack in a perfect world, right? Like you've got these cohorts that start, and yeah, you lose some. You can't please everybody. But you lose some, but you never get to zero. You always have some people who are using your software. And we use this to inform not just, our financial strategy, but also our product strategy. We were originally a top-of-the-funnel tool at HubSpot, right? Social media, landing pages, content, blogging, et cetera. That's what we did. And we had this really terrible marketing automation tool, middle-of-the-funnel tool. But what we noticed was even people who used our really terrible middle-of-the-funnel tool were better customers. They were happier. They were more likely to stay customers. They were more likely to upgrade their subscription over the long term. They had better retention over the long term. So we said, okay, this is the product market fit that we have. There's a big pain here. In addition to the top of the funnel, there's a big pain for middle of the funnel marketing automation tools. We're going to go and solve that for the mid-market. And that's how we've gotten to where we are today. It's not just why is somebody using what I have, but why did they stop? Why did I fail? Figuring that out, and you can pivot. Okay, congratulations, you're a startup. This is where most of you are right now, right? You're trying to get something that people are going to use, that people are going to pay you for. Now the question is, can you get the math to work? So we look at this from a unit economics perspective. Conventional business economics says how healthy is the business, that's all well and good. Unit economics tells me how healthy is my business model. So now you've got your business model, we did that in step one. People are paying you money. Let's say it's $1,200, and you want to have a ratio of 1 to 3. For every dollar you put into your business, you get $3 out. Okay, easy math. That means I can spend $400 to acquire a customer. If I know that I have a 10% lead to customer rate, every person I talk to, I turn 1 out of every 10 of them into a customer, 40% cost of lead. If I know that every 5% of every people, 1 out of every 20, who visit my website turn into a lead, easy math, $2. That means I can spend $2 to drive a visit to my website or feed a prospect into my pipeline. This is the math that we have to get to work. And that's the addition, that's the sum of all your sales and all your marketing, all your customer acquisition costs have to fit into that model. Okay, now you've got the math to work. I'll ask you this question, how much would you spend? Your Starbucks, you have on average a $6 cup of coffee. We have Starbucks here in Istanbul. You got on average, it's a $6 cup of coffee. The average lifetime value, according to KISS metrics for a Starbucks customer, is over $14,000. I ran this same study at HubSpot, by the way. The average lifetime value of a HubSpot employee to Starbucks is over $32,000. We just drink lots and lots of coffee. Before we went public, I used to joke that it would be worth it for them to park a barista in our office because we're just that valuable to them as customers. That's not a funny joke anymore because now that we're public, we actually do have a barista in our office. You look at it as this business model. You put $1 into your business model, you get $2 out. Or $2 into your business model into customer acquisition, and you get $4 out. That's actually the same business model. 1 to 2, 2 to 4 are the same thing. Or you put $2 in, and you get $12 out. That's a more profitable business model, which might seem attractive, but that may actually mean that you're just not growing fast enough, right? Is your goal really to have me give you $20 and you're going to give me $200? Or is my goal to have you give you $20, you sit on it for a long time, you build like a successful business, and you turn my investment into a very successful company? So you got the math to work. You figured out the acquisition, the dollar into the business, the dollar out of the business. Now, hard in a very different way, and what we've spent the last 5 years doing at HubSpot, is scaling up. How do we turn ourselves into a business that makes a dent in the universe? You have to ask yourself some questions. Am I a startup, or am I a scale-up? Do I have the math that works? Do I have product market fit? Or do I need to keep searching for that? There's no set timetable. It's not you wait 5 years and then congratulations, here's your diploma, you've graduated from startup to scale up. It's up to the customer, it's up to the market to determine whether or not you're where you need to be. Am I selling to the right person, the right solution? We call that a buyer persona. Are we focused? It's wrong. When you have two $1 billion opportunities, the wrong answer is, okay, I'm going to try and solve both of these $1 billion opportunities. The right thing to do is ignore completely one of these $1 billion opportunities and focus on doing one thing exceptionally well. Otherwise, two other people are going to focus on doing each of those $1 billion opportunities well, and they're going to beat you. Do you have resources? Is your pricing model aligned with your customers? Are your sales reps aligned with the success of your customers? Wells Fargo in the United States, obviously in trouble because their sales process was not, their sales compensation was not aligned with what made customers successful. Resist the urge to make this, to add complexity where there is none. Smart people, again, I love you. Most of the people in this room are very smart people. You all have a tendency to add complexity where there is none because you want to work on very smart problems. And if it's not a very smart problem, you start looking for ways to make it a smart problem. In scale-up, that's not necessarily what's needed. Sometimes you need to do the simple thing, do it repeatably. Be that cog in the wheel in your machine until you can expand it. Complexity is the enemy of scale, not an asset. I love this TV show, MASH. It's an old school American TV show. One of the characters on there has a great phrase that says, how is he so successful at surgery? Why does he get the really complex ones? He's a doctor. He says, because I do one thing at a time, I do it very well, and then I move on. My old boss, Dharmesh Shah, co-founder of HubSpot, I often imagine that there's a tiny figurine of him standing on my shoulder, yelling in my ear, focus, focus, focus. Do one thing at a time, do it very well, and then move on. So you want to scale up. All right. We know that it's not just to make profit. We've got 5 years to figure this out. We've got to survive. We've got to make a dent in the universe. We want to figure out how we can grow. In most businesses, you look at it like this, right? Somebody gives us a little bit of money, and maybe they give us a little bit more money over the course of their lifetime. Why do I obsess so much over what we call customer-centric unit economics? Customer centricity is not the customer was always right. Okay, the customer is often wrong. Let's be honest with ourselves. Customer centricity is the customer is the unit of economic value that my business is designed to solve for. I'm going to put money into getting a specific type of customer and extract money from them over the course of their lifetime. Now, this makes for a very interesting business model. You can actually lose money to acquire a customer. If you're Starbucks, for example, you're not spending $2 to sell a $6 cup of coffee. That's not how we look at the model. You're spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to acquire and retain a $14,000 customer. And the better your customer retention, the more you solve for having an amazing experience for your customers, the better leverage you have in your business. The lower your churn rate is, the better your retention, the more value you can extract from them, the more you're doing for them, the more you can involve in growing in your business. It makes it very difficult to compete. There was a flower company in Tampa that I spoke to that was very confused as to how their competitor was spending more than them on marketing. They had like billboards and PPC and all this kind of crap. And they knew that it wasn't a cheaper model. They all bought from the same supplier, so the cost of goods sold was the same. They weren't underselling them. The prices were the same. And so I went and I asked. I went and bought from their competitor to try and find out how they were managing to do this. And when I tried to buy, the competitor said, "Who are you buying flowers for?" And I said, "Oh, it's for my wife, her birthday's coming up." And they said, "Okay, well, do you want us to remind you when her birthday is next year?" "Yes, I am terrible at remembering birthdays." "That's great, please remind me." "Is there anybody else you want to buy flowers for?" It's like, "Well, my mother's birthday's like 6 months away. Do you want us to remind you when it's time to buy your mother flowers?" "Yes, I'm terrible at that. That's awesome." They managed to turn one customer transaction, because I'm just solving for getting money from coming in throughout the door, to having me buy like 5 or 6 flowers from them over the course of, or flower sets over the course of that 1 year. And again, like they focused on the job to be done, right? The customer story. I don't buy flowers because I like taking something beautiful and watching it die, right? Like die at a vase. I buy flowers because I want to make somebody I care about happy. And that's what they were solving for. They did a great job. So it's not just, can I build a beautiful machine? Can I build a beautiful model? It's how fast can I take that rocket ship and can I bring it to somewhere where it matters, where it has an impact? So we're in phase 4, scale up. Not just surviving, but creating disruption. What's good for business today can be what kills you tomorrow. Warren Buffett called this building a moat around your business or an extendable core. You can survive disruption. There are ways, right? There's lots of writing about how to survive disruption by startups like you who are trying to figure it out. This, Volkswagen Arena is not in much danger from Airbnb. Anybody, round of applause if you've ever stayed in an Airbnb. A few of you, okay. Round of applause if you've ever been to a conference in an Airbnb. No, you haven't. So you want to create disruption. So we launched a free version of our own software, cannibalized from our own revenue, because we knew that we wanted to compete with ourselves before you guys managed to figure out how to do it. You see this S-curve, right? Netflix knew that it wasn't DVDs that were their business. They were in the business of delivering the entertainment that people wanted. Sonos, another startup, didn't. They were so focused on the technology that they didn't solve on delivering for customer value. I firmly believe that when you have something that you've done that's successful, that's awesome, you deserve a trophy. Congratulations, you did a good job. The key is to avoid turning that trophy into an anchor that drags you down and brings you off the list while somebody else evolves faster. Thank you.